Welcome to Music Today. This is Keitaro Harada. The orchestra world is facing a challenge of gathering together on stage to perform for our audience. As we patiently wait for the day that we can all come back together like before, I wanted to create a place where we can gather together online in real time to relax and enjoy music. Good evening, and thank you for joining me at Music Today. The concept of the show is to bring in an artist each episode and have a conversation with the artist about a performance we will all watch together and listen together. The live component is very important because I encourage the viewers to comment and ask questions to the artist. Music Today is a bilingual show. The live streams during your evening will be in English, and the shows that broadcast during the morning time will be in Japanese for the fans in Japan. If you want to improve your Japanese skills, you're more than welcome to watch the Japanese interviews too. Without further ado, I'd like to bring in our guest tonight. Since I cannot hear you applaud, please do me a huge favor and comment by saying clap, 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 or you can add clapping emojis. Please welcome our special guest, Maestro John Morris Russell.
Hello.
Hey, John.
How are you? Ohio gozaimasu. There we go.
Ohayo gozaimasu. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining me on the show, and it's so great to see you virtually.
Fantastic to see you, Kay. You're looking great.
So to honor, this is such a Cincinnati Savannah show because we have such a common denominator. I actually am wearing a little Cincinnati merchandise.
Oh, there we go. Fantastic.
I thought I had a pop shirt, but I really didn't. And then in addition to that, I have a Cincinnati cup today.
Oh, there we go. Filled with your favorite beverage, cool water.
Exactly. No, but you should be proud of me because I'm not using plastic bottle, which you're big on.
That's right. Yeah, I always like to use, because they're always foisting plastic bottles on you, when you're backstage. I just prefer a coffee mug with cool water. Perfectly fine. You can just get it right out of the drinking fountain right there next to the stage door. Easy peasy.
Which I very much know because I assisted you for 4 years and brought you those water, and your favorite cup. So we have several guests already joining us online. Esther is giving some applause to us. Good to see Dick Jensen
Dick,
here.
Hey. Yeah.
And then Michael Culligan is also.
Hey, congratulations, Michael!
And Marcia Jensen is also on here. So Thank you all. And please feel free to comment and send us questions as we go through the show. But without further ado, let's start with just talking about us. And I wanted to share some fun photos of our past and our relationship. So,
look, there's the whole gang.
Exactly. John Morris Russell and I first met back in 2014, I think, when I auditioned for the Cincinnati Symphony and Cincinnati Pops, and I was the associate conductor along with Gene Chang, and spent just a marvelous time with the organization, learning so much from both Louis and John. Here's another photo of us during
the big Reds opening day parade.
Yes, and Thea and John had been such wonderful friends and family to us, both Yuri and I, and it's just a friendship that we always treasure. And here's another photo of us towards the end of our reign. And
look, Chris Pinello is always photobombing. God bless him.
Right?
Our communications director. He always wanted to make sure to be in every shot.
Very much so. So John, we are listening today from the American Originals 1918 album, a song called How Are You Gonna Keep Him Down on the Farm? Tell us about it.
Well, the whole album was based on music that happened after the end of the First World War. We knew that we were going to be releasing this CD in 2018, and we wanted to do something kind of patriotic. And we thought, instead of just doing all the same tunes like leading up to the war, what we wanted to do is say, hey, what happened after the war? And actually, after the First World War, there was an explosion of American music. What kind of defined American music making for the rest of the century and continues on. There was so much to do. with the fact that there were African American soldiers during the First World War who were serving the country, and many of those outfits had their own bands. And they would play their own compositions and their own, blues and early types of jazz and ragtime. And all those bands came back home after the war, and people had never heard this music before, that it was instantly popular, and it kind of defined what American music was going to be all about. So we wanted to find some of those very special pieces from 1918 and moving forward. And this one is a fun little classic that's been used in lots of films and such. And we had the Steep Canyon Rangers joining us for this one. I got to know the Steeps when I worked with them with Steve Martin at the Hollywood Bowl with the Los Angeles Philharmonic. They're complete hoot. And when we gave them options for all sorts of tunes that we were planning to record, and Woody there in the band said, I want to do this one. So here it is.
Fantastic. Well, before we get the music started, with several hellos from our colleagues, Darko.
Right.
Saying hi, and also Mickey Sodergren, another
hey, Mickey.
Savannah pair that we have, and Brad is also watching our show.
Fantastic.
All right, so let's take a listen to the Pops. I'm so excited about this.
Reuben, I've been thinking, said his wife he did. Now that all is peaceful and calm, boys will soon be back on the farm. Reuben started winking, slowly rubbed his chin. He pulled his chair up close to Mother, and he asked her with a grin, how you gonna keep on down on the farm after they've seen Perry? Now you're gonna keep them away from Broadway, jazzing around, painting the town. Now you're gonna keep them away from home. That's a mystery. They'll never want to see a record player.
John, where's your red jacket?
Oh, right now.
No, in this show.
Oh. We decided for the look to we wanted to kind of contrast a little bit, be a little bit more contemporary. So we went with a black look, but I believe I've got a red tie on. Yeah, there we go.
You do have a red tie and the red pocket chief, but it's just very. It's the first time I actually noticed that you weren't wearing the red jacket in the orchestra in this video. I've always thought that, when I think Pops, we would wear the red jacket, but
well, for our American Originals project, of which this is the second installment. We always wanted to kind of keep with the black as the clothing, but we always had that little touch of red.
Mm-hmm. I love that the folder is red too. It's just nice touch.
There's so many things going on there at the Cincinnati Symphony, Cincinnati Pops. So, sometimes there'd be 3-4 different shows going on in a single weekend, right? So they'd have to have them color coded. So the red folders always Pops.
It's awesome to see you having so much fun on stage.
Oh, it was such a hoot. And these guys were real live wires. And it was a real thrill. Okay, check out these solos here.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll turn the volume up.
Yeah, I love the banjo. Just make sure that when you're translating this in Japanese, that you say banjo. And this brilliant arrangement, right? Rob Mounsey was the guy who created the chart. every single one of his charts is gold. It keeps all the energy of the band, and at the same time brings the orchestra like right up front.
Yeah, it's a great arrangement.
Okay, here's the big finish.
All right. Yeah.
Yes, sirree, Bob. How sweet it is. Oh, that's so much fun. Oh, my goodness. You know, I've been doing a whole lot of editing lately for a lot of performances that we're working on to see if we might have the opportunity to stream them or to broadcast them in some way. And so for both Hilton Head and especially for the Pops, been going through all these recordings of performances over the last year. And I tell you what, you listen to that energy, you listen to the sound of the audience and the embracing sound of the orchestra and the energy and enthusiasm, everything that comes to that. And, you know, here I am, you know, sitting in my dining room with my headphones on, listening to this stuff. And it's just both an absolute thrill. I almost get drunk but it's just so amazing, right? Listening to it. But then I get this overwhelming sense of just like, oh, where is this feeling now? You know, we all of us in the business are just hungering to get back in there, right? You know, and the world needs us now, man.
Totally. We have a few comments coming from that performance. Michael is saying, "Nice Glock," of course. but Dick Jensen's commenting saying that the siren is working.
Yeah, as opposed to when they did it in the Gershwin. Sometimes they were a little wishy-washy there.
Thanks, guys, for commenting. So my first question to you today is, Cincinnati Pops is filled with so much amazing history. I was wondering if you could share me one or two favorite memories of Maestro Kunzel.
Well, Erich was quite a character, and of course, you know, he kind of developed the whole concept of Pops that we now continue on. He was, it's interesting, he studied we had a little connection because he studied at the Pierre Monteux School. Of course, he studied with the great Pierre Monteux. I studied with Monteux's assistant and a fellow named Charles Brooke. So we would always talk about that experience. Nancy Monteux, Pierre Monteux's daughter, knew us both very well, and so it was very nice to have that real personal connection there. And it was kind of interesting. I mean, he came to the Cincinnati Pops, just like you, as he started off as an assistant conductor and then as an associate conductor, and kind of worked his way through the ranks, and then kind of developed the whole idea of Pops, and, you know, really ran with it, and really kind of changed the musical world. And of course, developed a really great relationship with the people of Japan because of so many of these awesome CDs that have become so popular, especially in Japan. Anyway, it was maybe about 3-4 years into myself being the associate conductor with both Erich and Jesus Lopez Cobos. I got a call it was maybe about an hour and a half before the opening Pops concert. It was in September. It was 1999. And it was, you know, the call from Peter Throm, our Pops manager, who said, "John, you're in." Erich had gotten ill. Yeah. And he said, you know, get your red jacket on. So Erich was feeling ill. I took over, did the first half, I did the whole concert. Erich was feeling a little better for the rest of the weekend. So I did kind of half the concert, but we were recording Tchaikovsky, a big Tchaikovsky disc. So Erich did the second half of the concert. I did the first, Erich did the first half. I did the second half. Anyway, we went on and we went ahead and recorded it then on a Sunday and Monday. And then Erich was going to take off to Vienna with the Strauss Festival Orchestra for a big concert, celebration of music of Gershwin and Strauss. It was going to be a real big deal. It was at the Musikverein, right? He got on the plane, and it was not too long afterwards that he got off the plane in New Jersey and said, I got a call from him, and he said, "I can't do it. John, you go." and it was
Wow.
this huge break. And so just grabbed the scores, learned them on the plane. Most of them I knew, but I got to work with the great Gregory Peck, the Vienna Boy Choir, the Harlem Boy Choir, fantastic opera singers, soloists. It was a very, very special event, and Erich kind of opened the door. He trusted me enough, and I could never thank him enough for that great opportunity. And of course, all those years of working with Erich really kind of flavored my own career as I went off to Windsor, Ontario, to conduct the Windsor Symphony. And although I was doing both pops and classical concerts, just the idea of pops and taking it really seriously and really going for it was really important. And it's been a real honor to continue that legacy. I think, you know what, if it was one thing about Erich that you really got to say is, man, it was all about making sure that everything was really done right. He was such a devil for details. He had amazing ears, and he was just so remarkable in that he cared so very, very much. He was the first one in the door before any concerts or recordings or anything, and he was the last one to leave.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I actually never heard that one, so it's so cool that all of that happened while your time. I do have to add the fact that you never got sick when I assisted you, so you never gave me that break.
Sorry, man.
You were always healthy. Like not that I wished that you would get sick. Of course, I never wished that upon you. But like, of course, as a staff conductor, I always have to be ready to go at any moment, right? But you never got sick.
How about with Louis or any other time? I think you had to pull a couple rehearsals like out of the blue.
I don't think not a single one. Gene had to do one rehearsal with a guest conductor that couldn't come, but then I always had the healthiest of all the healthy conductors. And I don't think I even had my tails at music hall because I was that confident that everyone was.
It was always funny. It was usually once a year. I'd be covering for Jesus, and it happened religiously every year with Erich until this event happened. There'd be one night, and Jesus would come walking off stage and saying, "Oh, I'm feeling so terrible. Oh, I don't know if I could go on to the second half of the concert." And and I'd be like, grab me the score. And then for some reason he'd always recover before the second half of the program. I always thought he did that just to keep me honest.
That's awesome. We have a few more hellos from our friends. We have Claudia saying hello and Samir Nikochevich saying hello too.
Oh, fantastic. Hey, Samir.
Another question for you. So kind of going along with our conversation, which is that, John, you're such a multifaceted artist, from Hilton Head Symphony to Cincinnati Pops. You cover so many genres of music, and not just those two organizations, but you guest conduct around the world. So what's your secret? Like, as a conductor of multiple genres, is there a philosophy that you hold true to, or just tell me something that you can share about why JMR being JMR?
So my favorite quote in the world is Duke Ellington, who said, "If it sounds good, it is good." And really, that's kind of at the root of everything I do. Music is music. It comes in all sorts of varieties, in all sorts of forms, all sorts of styles. And there are only two types of music: good music and bad music. I kind of think of our orchestral pops repertoire as just being another style. It's another style you learn. If you had the exact same phrase and you put the name Bach on the music, you're going to play it in a certain way. You could have the exact same music and put the word Beethoven on it, and you're going to play it differently. If you have Mahler, you're going to play it differently. Every composer, every style, whether it's romantic, 20th century, classical, early classical, late, Italian, every style has its own way of doing things, about having its own nuances of rhythm, rubato, sense of dynamics, et cetera, et cetera. And I always have thought that, well, American music, which so much of pop music is based on American musical style. And there's just all sorts of styles, and you just have to learn how to play them in the styles. I mean, you can talk about jazz and swing, but there are like a dozen different swing styles about where to put the emphasis. How much are you going to a dotted 8/16, or how much are you going to a tied triplet? And all sorts of nuances in terms of pushing and pulling of rhythm, and all of these contribute to what makes a piece of music really, really soar. And to me, that's the great challenge, and that's what I love, is being able to just shift from one style to the next. And you know what? It's not me. Of course, I'm helping to encourage it. It's our musicians who are the ones who really roll up their sleeves and the ones who do the work. And this is why it's such a joy to work with the Cincinnati Pops, because everyone is so extraordinary and embraces that the diversity of style that the Pops experience and the orchestral experience really requires.
That's fantastic. And then I'm glad that you mentioned what you said at the end, that it's not really about us conductors, it's about the musicians, and especially it's about the composers, because the spirit of the composer, without them, there's no way that we can have our profession. And we always have to champion the composers and bringing that to life as key aspect.
And in Pops, it's not just the composers, it's the original performer. I mean, so much of Pops repertoire is based on popular music that a certain singer or a certain arranger created a certain sound world. And so you have to listen a lot to that and respect that in bringing it to life with a full symphony orchestra. And you're talking about, especially over the last couple of months, right? I mean, I have never felt so incredibly useless in all my life. I hear, the one thing that we're supposed to do, as musicians, and especially as conductors, is bring people together and help people through some really tough times. And, thank goodness you're doing this in whatever way you can through this broadcast. But in all the performances that are canceled, and all the things that we're all of us are so yearning to be able to produce, to bring some sense of hope and togetherness into the world. And we're going to be there. We're going to get back to it. But right now, especially, it's tough.
Right. No, it's so true. And I've been thinking, for the last few weeks, what is it that I can do? And so that's why I started Music Today, where we can all gather together and then watch a performance of the guest artists and talk about it. It brings the community together, even though we can't come together in real life right now. It will be better soon, but at least this way we can do an interview, talk about the music, and it will be archived that people can watch whenever they want to. It just brings the community a little bit better and connected, which transitions into my next question. We have several listeners from Georgia, where John and I are both music directors of the same airport. We're doing this since, for 4 years at Cincinnati, we were the same airport in Cincinnati. And then now we moved to the Savannah Hilton Head International Airport, where once again, when I come down the escalator, I see a photo of myself and I see a photo of John Moore's photo. I'm just following your footsteps. I really am. But
I tell you what, though, there is a relationship between Savannah and Cincinnati that goes way, 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 way back. I mean, if you want to go way back, there's General Tecumseh Sherman, right? He was an Ohioan. He was from Southern Ohio, right? So he made his mark there. But more recently with the orchestra, there have been so many connections. Myself, actually, Greg Gustafson, who used to be the Pops artistic administrator, went from there to become the executive director of the Savannah Symphony Orchestra back then. And I came down and I was the associate conductor for a couple of years before going to become the associate conductor in Cincinnati. And within a couple of years, Chelsea Tipton, who was working with the youth orchestra in Cincinnati, came down to work with the Savannah Symphony Orchestra as well. And there have been many musicians in the orchestra who went to CCM. And there's always been this really kind of close relationship with the Low Country in Cincinnati. Charleston has a lot of Cincinnati connections as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to, the more I dig into the history of the Savannah Symphony, the predecessor of the Savannah Philharmonic, it really is interesting to see that Cincinnati connection. And at Savannah Philharmonic, our principal clarinetist and education director, Kristen Spiridon, got her degree at Cincinnati Conservatory. So
Yeah.
what would you share us what you love about being the music director of Hilton Head Symphony?
Well, I was only in Savannah for a couple of years. That's where I met my wife. That's where I met Taya. And, I mean, it is just, the Low Country is such a magical place. I mean, it's just magical. And when we were there for 2 years, I made some very, very close friends who are all still there in the Savannah area. And every time, I get to go down there to the Low Country is always very, very special, especially in February. Let me tell you. But I got to know so many of the musicians, so much of the lifestyle, the musical ethos, especially of the Gullah community. And so when the opportunity presented itself to join the Hilton Head Symphony, it was like, wow, yeah, sign me up. And fantastic musicians there. A wonderful, caring community, so rich with culture. It's a very, very special place.
Yeah, I feel special is a wonderful way to depict the situation, because we share so many of the musicians between Savannah Philharmonic and Hilton Head Symphony Orchestra. So they're just so lovely. Our musicians are great.
And you're no stranger to Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you went to Mercer? And let's see, the oboe player / conductor,
Adrian Ganam, my mentor.
Right, and he's a Cincinnati guy too, right?
Yep, he used to be professor at CCM, played with the Cincinnati Symphony, and there's that Cincinnati, Georgia connection also. I wanted to share to everyone what John and the Hilton Head Symphony are doing on their website. If you get a chance to check their website out, I think this is beautiful that you're doing this message from the musicians, that you, members of the Hilton Head Symphony.
Hey, who's that guy? He looks like Grizzly Adams there.
Anyway, you did not shave there.
This is so beautiful. We just kind of threw it out there to our musicians and said, "Hey, would you like to send a message to our patrons and to our Hilton Head community?" And just everyone just started submitting these videos, and they're delightful and funny and witty and artistic and hopeful. And it's been a real pleasure to be able to look through them and just see all of our great friends. And it just really, gets my heart set for jumping back in there and making this all happen again.
No, it's wonderful, and it's beautiful that you did that, and it's nice to see, because we have our common denominator of some of the musicians. It's nice to see how they are saying hello to all of our fans. We have a few comments here, which one's from Ben. Since you both now have Savannah connections, what is your favorite memory from conducting the Savannah Symphony?
Oh my
KMR?
Goodness! There we go. What was it? Emma Kelly, the lady of 10,000 songs. She was a legendary singer, and she was obsessive about the music of Johnny Mercer. And it was said that she knew songs that Johnny Mercer forgot he composed. Okay. Anyway, there was she was rather old by the time I got to work with her, but we put together a whole tribute to Johnny Mercer, and delightful person, lovely lady, but boy, in front of 2,500 people there in the Johnny Mercer Theater in downtown Savannah, man, when that spotlight hit her brain just like turned off. And I tell you, if it wasn't for Ben Tucker, the great jazz bass player who worked for her, to kind of like get her to start singing, and she would make modulations that were just crazy. She'd just go off to a whole different song, and Ben would somehow, I'd stop the orchestra, and Ben would somehow get her back onto the track to get her into the right key and in the right song. And I'd be yelling out to the orchestra, "Letter D," and then bam, would bring her back in. And after 2 hours of just complete mayhem, she got the standing ovation because everyone loved her so much. And I figured, boy, if I could live through that, I can live through anything.
That's awesome. You just never know with artists, right? Because sometimes in rehearsal they're fine.
Yeah, that was the case, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the case.
All of a sudden,
the rehearsal was like easy peasy. I mean, it was just so, it was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be one for the record books. Well, it was kind of in its own way.
I got to tell you though, like when the dress rehearsal is perfect, or not perfect, but like when the dress rehearsal is flawless, right. I get very nervous. I get really like, I want some, because you kind of check out,
Yeah,
because,
right.
Oh, it was
everyone
great.
says, oh yeah, we got this, right?
We don't got it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It always keeps you on your toes. I think another real special memory for me was it was like really early on. It was in December of my first year with the Savannah Symphony. Ballet South. It was a wonderful dance group based in the Low Country. And I got to conduct Nutcracker, and I'd never conducted ballet before. And all of a sudden, I'm doing Nutcracker, and this glorious score, and the Savannah Symphony, which was really an exceptional orchestra in its day. And I'll never forget this bright, this deep ultra blue backdrop. And snowflakes were starting to come down, and we were doing the dance of the snowflakes, and the little children's choir was doing their thing, and it was just so beautiful. And I was so like into like being here in this magical city with this lovely ballet company with this fantastic orchestra, and saying, "Oh my God, I've made it!" And I was weeping through the whole thing. It was so special.
That's awesome.
I still love the Nutcracker. It's a fantastic score.
Nutcracker does have several touching moments and I could attest to that, because like I do get a little bit teary-eyed when I'm conducting Nutcracker. It's something about that music. It's so special, isn't it?
It's not just there's a lot of treacle, there's a lot of very sweet and stuff, but you know what? There's this undercurrent, there's this dark little undercurrent that goes all the way through the whole thing. That kind of flavors it, and I think it is people who think it's like concert music. I think there's some real girth to it. I really kind of I sense the inner world of Tchaikovsky here, that he really poured himself heart and soul into that piece.
Fantastic. I wanted to share several comments that have popped up. Michael is saying, Thank you, Michael.
Fantastic.
Great to see you. Someone you know very well has messed.
We need music now, baby. That's the truth.
Yeah. And I do miss graders. Yeah, I really do. Mrs. Wall's Barbecue.
Have you been to Wall's Barbecue? This is in Savannah. It is on this little alley. Taya, help me out here. I forget the name of the alley. It's on the east of Bull, and it looks like a shack sitting in this little alley, and a dirt road, and just this little handwritten sign, Wall's Barbecue. But dang, it is the deal. It's fantastic barbecue. Could not be. The greens, the sweet potato pie, the deviled crab. It is just exquisite. And you go in there, and the lady will ask you if you want hot sauce or mild barbecue sauce, and whichever one you say, she'll get it out of the same bucket.
So I have sad news for you, because Mike Daly said Walls has been closed for some time now.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Just stay in Tokyo. Just stay in Tokyo. There's no need to go for the cuisine of Savannah. That's it.
That's so not true. There's so many great restaurants in Savannah. Thanks, Mike. Ben said that Ben Tucker was an amazing bassist. So and Mike No, not that one. But Mike also said that he played in that particular concert.
Oh,
so,
I know. Everyone who was there will never forget it.
Taya is very upset about the barbecue.
I know.
John, my final question to you today, which you sort of touched on, but I want us to go in a little bit deeper, is that performing music has become such a routine activity for us for so many years. Then all of a sudden, because of this world crisis, performing in public has become extremely difficult. How has your attitude towards music and performing for an audience changed?
Oh my goodness. I think everyone is just, you don't realize how special, how unique, how important it is for our well-being, to perform together, and it's not just all of us performing on stage together. It's like everyone. And, you mentioned the audience, and that's so much about it, right? About feeling that everyone is there together, kind of in a communal sense. Everyone's coming together.
Right.
I always come back to this thing about the word philharmonic, and to me, it really kind of defines what this is all about. People ask you, I'm sure, all the time, right? What's the difference between a philharmonic and a symphony? Right, symphony, orchestra, philharmonic, they're all the same. It's just a different word. But the etymology of the word is really interesting. It's philos, love, harmony, harmonic, harmony, right? Philharmonic, lovers of harmony. And in one sense, we are lovers of harmony on stage, because if we're not playing together, and if we're not, very careful and doing our job, it's not going to sound good. So we are all lovers of, really doing a good job and making a great sound world. But then you take a step back and you say, well, it's also the harmony that's created between what's going on stage and what's going on in the audience. That it's the harmony that brings audience and musicians together, that we, in this one place, in this room, are creating a harmonic experience, all of us together. And that's what we so truly miss. But then there's the third element, and that is when everyone goes home, and all of us on stage and then the audience, and we carry that harmony that Beethoven gave us, or Mahler, or Tchaikovsky, or Duke Ellington. We carry that harmony with us when we're off a stage, when we're out of the hall. We carry it in our lives, in everyone who we react with, everyone we talk with, everyone we gather together with. And without that harmony, life is much more difficult. And I think we are in such need of harmony. We're in such need of the music that brings us together. And all of us, I know, are just itching to get back in there to do what good we can with bringing music and harmony to the world.
It's so well spoken and beautifully articulated about harmony and philharmonic. And thank you so much for sharing that. Before we close the program, I just want to share a few more comments. Matt Swanson joining us and saying,
fantastic. Hey, Matthew.
And then Ralph saying,
Mo!
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, this is what a fantastic party.
It is awesome, a party.
Eh? Yeah.
For our viewers, just wanted to share that, I'm doing this music today almost every day, and our guests coming up, we have tomorrow Victoria Bond, composer, conductor, and Tito Munoz, who used to be the staff
another
conductor.
Associate conductor, right? Ian Parker.
Yep.
Oh, I love Ian. Oh, look at this. This is so much fun. Ilya's going to be here.
Yep.
Oh, and fantastic. Mickey.
So Mickey just happened yesterday, so hers is already on archive, but
you can watch it again. Mark Thakar, he's a Cincinnatian too.
He is a Cincinnatian too. So anyway, thank you, John, so much for your time to join us, and all the fans today. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for tomorrow, and be safe.
Thank you very much, Keitaro. Cheers. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.
Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share this video. ありがとうございました。チャンネル登録、いいね、そしてこのビデオをぜひシェアしてください。